Betrayal and hurt, they strike at the core of who we are. That moment when someone we trust lets us down, or when life throws a curveball that feels deeply unfair, can leave us reeling. Emotions rise like a storm, threatening to overwhelm us. But what if there was a way to navigate these turbulent waters with calm and clarity? This is where Stoicism, an ancient philosophy practiced by some of history's greatest minds, offers timeless wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words remind us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic principles like emotional resilience, cognitive reframing, and acceptance can help us stay grounded even when life feels unfair. So, how can we remain calm and composed when betrayal or hurt threatens to shake us? Let's dive in. Betrayal is not about the act itself, but how we perceive it. This is where Stoicism offers a powerful perspective. The Stoics believed that external events, including the actions of others, are indifferent, meaning they hold no inherent power to harm us. It's our own judgments, our interpretation of those events, that create the pain we feel. Think about it. Two people can experience the same betrayal, yet one might feel devastated while the other remains unshaken. The difference lies in how each person chooses to view the situation. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught us to focus on what's within our control and let go of what isn't. When someone betrays us, their actions are outside our control. We can't force them to act differently or undo what's been done. But what we can control is our response, how we choose to interpret the betrayal and what meaning we assign to it. This shift in focus is where true freedom lies. Let's bring this to life with a modern example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague you trusted takes credit for your idea during a big meeting. The betrayal stings, and it's easy to spiral into anger or self-doubt. But through a Stoic lens, the act itself is neutral. It's your judgment, the belief that you've been wronged or that your worth is tied to recognition, that fuels the emotional pain. Instead of letting the betrayal define you, you can choose to see it as an opportunity to reflect on your values, strengthen your resilience, and reassess your expectations of others. So, here's a question to consider. What judgments are you attaching to your own experiences of betrayal? Are you allowing someone else's actions to dictate your peace of mind? By recognizing that your power lies in how you interpret and respond to betrayal, you reclaim control over your emotional well-being. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, turning moments of hurt into opportunities for growth. What if you could observe your emotions without being consumed by them? This is the essence of cognitive detachment, a powerful Stoic practice that allows you to step back from the intensity of your feelings and gain clarity. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about creating a mental space where you can see them for what they truly are, temporary reactions, not permanent truths. The Stoics, like Seneca, often emphasize the importance of pausing before reacting. Seneca once wrote, "The first draft of anger is beyond our control, but the second is in our power." This pause, this moment of stepping back, gives you the chance to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It's like watching a storm from a window. You acknowledge its power, but you don't have to step outside and let it sweep you away. One practical way to practice cognitive detachment is through journaling. After an event that stirs strong emotions, take a few moments to write about it as if you were an objective observer. Describe what happened, how you felt, and why you think you reacted that way. But here's the key: write without judgment. Don't label your emotions as good or bad. Simply observe them as if you were studying a painting from a distance. This exercise helps you untangle yourself from the immediacy of your feelings and see the bigger picture. So, how might detachment change your perspective on the situation? When you stop identifying so strongly with your emotions, you create room for understanding and growth. Instead of being overwhelmed by betrayal or hurt, you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means wisdom. It's about choosing how you engage with your emotions rather than letting them dictate your actions. You cannot control others, but you can control your response. This is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it's a principle that can transform how you navigate betrayal, hurt, or any challenge life throws your way. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are within our power while others are not, and the key to staying stoic lies in understanding the difference. Take Seneca, one of history's most famous Stoics. When he was exiled by Emperor Claudius, he could have raged against the injustice, cursed his fate, or spent years wallowing in bitterness. But instead, he chose to focus on what he could control: his mindset, his daily habits, and his commitment to personal growth. In exile, he wrote some of his most profound works, turning his adversity into an opportunity for reflection and wisdom. Now think about a modern example, a broken relationship. You can't control how someone else feels or acts, but you can control how you respond. Do you dwell on the pain, replaying every hurtful moment in your mind? Or do you channel that energy into rebuilding yourself, learning from the experience, and finding peace in the things you can shape: your thoughts, your actions, and your future? So let's pause for a moment. What aspects of your current situation feel beyond your control? Is it someone else's behavior, a sudden change in circumstances, or perhaps the weight of expectations you've placed on yourself? Recognizing these external factors is the first step toward acceptance. And acceptance, as the Stoics taught us, isn't about giving up. It's about freeing yourself from the struggle against what you cannot change, so you can focus on what truly matters: your own growth and resilience. What if this betrayal, this moment of hurt, isn't just a setback but an opportunity? What if it's a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient? This is the Stoic way of looking at challenges. For them, every obstacle, every sting of betrayal is a test of character. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it perfectly: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the very thing that feels like it's holding you back can actually propel you forward, if you choose to see it that way. Let's take a moment to unpack this. Imagine someone you trust, someone close to you, betrays you. It hurts deeply, and that pain is real. But here's the Stoic perspective: this betrayal can be a teacher. It's showing you something about yourself, about others, and about the world. Maybe it's revealing where you've placed too much trust or where you've neglected your own boundaries. Maybe it's reminding you that you can't control others, only how you respond. And that's where your power lies. Think of it like this: betrayal is like a storm. It shakes you, it uproots things, and it can leave you feeling exposed. But storms also clear the air. They strip away what's weak, leaving space for what's strong to grow. In the same way, betrayal can strip away illusions, leaving you with a clearer, stronger sense of who you are and what you stand for. This is how you reframe the narrative, not as a victim, but as someone who's being shaped by the experience. So, how can you take this moment and use it to serve your growth? Start by asking yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this pain to become more resilient, more compassionate, or more self-aware? Maybe it's about setting healthier boundaries. Maybe it's about letting go of the need for others to act in a certain way. Or maybe it's simply about recognizing your own strength to endure and move forward. The key is to shift your focus from what's been done to you to what you can do with it. That's how you turn an obstacle into an advantage. That's how you stay stoic. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." This simple yet profound idea is at the heart of emotional resilience, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Emotional resilience isn't about avoiding pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about enduring it without letting it control your life. It's the ability to face betrayal, hurt, or any setback and still move forward with clarity and purpose. Think of it like a tree in a storm. The wind may bend it, but the roots hold firm, allowing it to stand tall once the storm has passed. That's resilience, bending but not breaking. So how does this apply to real life? Let's say you've experienced a personal setback, maybe a betrayal by someone you trusted deeply. The pain is real and it's natural to feel hurt, but resilience asks, what now? Instead of letting that pain define you, you can choose to learn from it. You can reflect on what happened, extract the lessons, and use them to grow stronger. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging the hurt while refusing to let it dictate your future. Consider this: when you face a challenge, you have a choice. You can let it consume you, or you can use it as an opportunity to build resilience. Every setback, every moment of pain is a chance to practice this Stoic virtue. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So, what steps can you take to strengthen your emotional resilience? Start small, reflect on past challenges and how you overcame them. Practice gratitude for the lessons learned, even in difficult moments. And most importantly, remind yourself that your reaction, not the event itself, is where your power lies. Can forgiveness coexist with Stoic principles? At first glance, it might seem like a contradiction. After all, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. But forgiveness, when understood deeply, is not about excusing someone's actions or pretending they didn't hurt us. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of resentment and anger, emotions that only harm us in the long run. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, wrote extensively about anger, calling it a temporary madness that clouds our judgment and distorts our perception. He argued that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness, in this light, becomes an act of self-liberation. Think about it this way: when someone betrays or hurts us, the emotional pain we feel is real. But the longer we hold onto that pain, the more we allow it to define us. Forgiveness doesn't mean we forget what happened or that we suddenly trust that person again. It simply means we choose not to let their actions control our inner peace. Imagine a friend who betrays your trust. Perhaps they shared a secret you confided in them, or they let you down when you needed them most. The sting of their betrayal might linger, but forgiving them doesn't mean you're saying what they did was okay. It means you're choosing to release the bitterness so it doesn't consume you. So, what would forgiveness look like in your situation? Maybe it's acknowledging the hurt, then deciding to focus on your own growth rather than dwelling on the other person's actions. Maybe it's finding a way to let go of the need for revenge or validation. Stoicism reminds us that we can't control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. Forgiveness, then, becomes a powerful tool for reclaiming your peace and moving forward with clarity and strength. It's not about them, it's about you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of Stoic philosophy, the recognition that while we can't always control what happens around us, we can control how we respond. Inner peace isn't something that comes from the world aligning perfectly. It's something we cultivate within ourselves, even when everything outside feels chaotic. Think about it. How often do we let external circumstances dictate our mood, our energy, or even our sense of self-worth? Maybe it's a toxic work environment, a difficult relationship, or even just the relentless noise of modern life. These things can feel overwhelming, but Stoicism reminds us that our power lies in how we choose to engage with them. It's not about ignoring the chaos, it's about finding stillness within it. One practical way to build this inner resilience is through mindfulness practices like meditation. Taking just a few minutes each day to sit quietly, focus on your breath, and observe your thoughts without judgment can create a profound shift. It's like building a mental anchor, something that keeps you steady, no matter how stormy the waters around you become. Let's say you're dealing with a toxic environment. Maybe it's a coworker who constantly undermines you or a family dynamic that feels draining. Instead of reacting impulsively, Stoicism encourages you to pause and ask yourself, what's within my control here? Can I change the situation, or do I need to change how I respond to it? Often, the answer lies in shifting your perspective, choosing to focus on your own growth and peace rather than getting caught up in the negativity around you. So here's a question to reflect on. How can you cultivate peace within yourself today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Maybe it's taking 5 minutes to meditate, journaling about what you're grateful for, or simply reminding yourself that your worth isn't tied to external validation. Small, consistent actions like these can build a foundation of inner calm that no external chaos can shake. Stoicism teaches us to respond with justice, not vengeance. This might sound counterintuitive when we feel hurt or betrayed, but the Stoic approach isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about channeling them into something constructive. Justice in the Stoic sense isn't about punishment or retaliation. It's about fairness, integrity, and doing what's right, even when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, often reminded himself to act with integrity, no matter how others treated him. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In other words, the way you respond says more about you than it does about the person who wronged you. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're at work and a colleague takes credit for your idea during a meeting. Your first instinct might be to confront them angrily or seek revenge by undermining them later. But the Stoic approach would be to address the situation calmly and assertively. You could speak to them privately, explain how their actions affected you, and seek a resolution that restores fairness. This isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about maintaining your own dignity and values while addressing the issue head-on. By responding with justice, you uphold your integrity and set a standard for how you expect to be treated. So, how can you respond justly without compromising your values? Start by asking yourself what fairness looks like in the situation. Is it about setting boundaries? Having an honest conversation, or perhaps it's about letting go of the need to win and focusing on what's truly important. Justice, in the Stoic sense, isn't about making others pay, it's about ensuring that your actions align with your principles even when others don't. This approach not only helps you navigate betrayal with grace, but also empowers you to grow stronger and more resilient in the process. What if this pain is temporary? What if the hurt you're feeling right now, as deep as it might seem, is just a passing storm? This is where the Stoic concept of impermanence comes into play. The ancient Stoics, like Epictetus, often reminded us that everything in life, joy, pain, success, failure, is fleeting. Nothing lasts forever, not even the heaviest emotional burdens we carry. Understanding this can be a powerful tool in our emotional toolkit, especially when dealing with betrayal or hurt. Think about it: friendships, relationships, even the most intense emotions, they all have a beginning and an end. Epictetus once said, "Remember that you are an actor in a play, and the playwright chooses the role for you." In other words, life is a series of moments, each one temporary, each one part of a larger story. When we're in the thick of pain, it's easy to forget that this moment isn't permanent, but Stoicism invites us to step back and see the bigger picture. Let's take a relatable example, the end of a friendship. Maybe someone you trusted deeply has let you down and it feels like the betrayal will last forever. But ask yourself, how many friendships or relationships in your life have come and gone? How many times have you felt hurt only to find that over time the pain faded? This isn't to say the pain isn't real or valid. It's about recognizing that, like everything else, it will change. The intensity you feel right now won't always be there. So how might embracing impermanence ease your current suffering? For one, it shifts your perspective. Instead of seeing pain as a permanent state, you start to see it as a wave, rising, cresting, and eventually falling. This doesn't mean you ignore or suppress your emotions. On the contrary, it means you acknowledge them fully, knowing they won't define you forever. By accepting the temporary nature of your pain, you give yourself permission to heal, to grow, and to move forward. This Stoic principle isn't about dismissing your feelings, it's about empowering yourself to see beyond them. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, change is inevitable. And sometimes that's the most comforting thought of all. Seneca once said, "Assess yourself daily to understand your reactions." This simple yet profound advice lies at the heart of Stoic self-reflection. When you're feeling betrayed or hurt, it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of the moment, anger, sadness, or even confusion. But the Stoics remind us that these moments are opportunities to turn inward and ask, why do I feel this way? What is within my control and what isn't? Self-reflection isn't about dwelling on the pain, it's about understanding it so you can grow. One of the most powerful tools for self-reflection is journaling. Writing down your thoughts allows you to step back and observe your emotions objectively. Imagine you've just gone through a breakup and you're feeling a mix of betrayal and heartache. Instead of letting those feelings spiral, take a moment to write about the experience. Ask yourself, what triggered my emotions? Were my expectations realistic? What can I learn about myself from this situation? By putting pen to paper, you create space between yourself and the pain, giving you clarity and a sense of control. A modern example of this might be reflecting on a falling out with a close friend. Maybe they said something hurtful and you're struggling to move past it. Instead of reacting impulsively, take time to journal about the incident. Explore how it made you feel, why it affected you so deeply, and what steps you can take to either repair the relationship or move forward without resentment. This process isn't about assigning blame. It's about understanding your own role in the situation and how you can grow from it. Self-reflection also helps you recognize patterns in your reactions. Do you tend to feel betrayed easily? Are there certain triggers that consistently upset you? By identifying these patterns, you can start to work on them, building emotional resilience over time. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from self-awareness, and journaling is a practical way to cultivate that awareness. So, the next time you're feeling hurt or betrayed, don't let the emotions consume you. Instead, take a step back, grab a notebook, and ask yourself the hard questions. What can you learn about yourself from this experience? How can you use this moment to become a stronger, more resilient version of yourself? Remember, self-reflection isn't just about understanding the past, it's about shaping a better future. Stoicism teaches us to protect our inner peace, and one of the most powerful tools we have for doing so is building emotional boundaries. Think of your mind as a fortress, something Epictetus often emphasized. Just as a fortress has walls to keep out invaders, we need boundaries to shield ourselves from emotional harm. This isn't about shutting people out or becoming cold. It's about creating space where you can thrive without being overwhelmed by the actions or words of others. Setting boundaries starts with recognizing what you can and cannot control. You can't control how others behave, but you can control how much access they have to your emotional energy. For instance, if someone consistently brings negativity into your life, whether through their words or actions, you have the power to limit your exposure to them. This might mean having honest conversations about what you're willing to tolerate, or in some cases, stepping back from the relationship altogether. It's not about punishing them, it's about preserving your own well-being. Here's a practical example. Imagine a friend who frequently criticizes your decisions or dismisses your feelings. Instead of allowing their negativity to erode your confidence, you might decide to spend less time with them or set clear expectations for how you want to be treated. This doesn't mean you stop caring about them, but it does mean you prioritize your own mental and emotional health. So, what boundaries can you set to protect your emotional well-being? Start by identifying what drains you or makes you feel undervalued. Is it a particular person, a situation, or even a habit? Once you've pinpointed the source, take small, deliberate steps to create distance or establish new limits. Remember, boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you. They're gates that allow you to decide who and what deserves your energy. By setting them, you're not just protecting your peace, you're making room for growth, clarity, and deeper connections with those who truly support you. Can gratitude coexist with pain? At first glance, it might seem like an impossible pairing. How can you feel thankful when you're hurting, when betrayal has left you feeling raw and exposed? But this is where Stoicism offers a profound perspective. Gratitude for the Stoics isn't about ignoring your pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about shifting your focus, choosing to see what remains, even when something or someone has been taken away. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, had a daily habit of listing the things he was grateful for. Even as an emperor, his life was filled with challenges, betrayal, loss, and the weight of responsibility. Yet he consistently turned his attention to what he still had: his ability to reason, the people who supported him, and the lessons he could learn from adversity. This practice didn't erase his struggles, but it gave him a way to navigate them with clarity and resilience. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine you've been betrayed by someone you trusted deeply. It's natural to feel anger, sadness, or even despair. But what if, in the midst of that pain, you paused and asked yourself, what can I still be grateful for? Maybe it's the friends who have stood by you, the lessons you've learned about trust, or even the strength you're discovering within yourself. Gratitude doesn't diminish your hurt. It simply reminds you that life is still offering you something, even in the hardest moments. So, what can you still be grateful for in this moment? It might be something small, like the warmth of sunlight on your face, or something profound, like the opportunity to grow through this experience. Gratitude doesn't ask you to forget your pain. It invites you to see that pain doesn't have to define your entire reality. It's a tool, one the Stoics used to anchor themselves in what truly matters, even when the world felt unstable. And it's a tool you can use, too, to find a sense of balance and perspective when life feels unfair. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. These words from Epictetus cut straight to the heart of what it means to live a Stoic life. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that true freedom doesn't come from controlling the world around us. It comes from releasing our grip on the things we cannot control. When we cling to outcomes, people, or circumstances, we imprison ourselves in a cycle of frustration and pain. But when we learn to let go, we unlock a profound sense of peace. Take a moment to think about this. How often do you find yourself obsessing over a result that's out of your hands? Maybe it's a project at work that didn't go as planned, a relationship that ended unexpectedly, or even a dream that feels forever out of reach. The Stoics remind us that while we can control our efforts, our intentions, and our responses, we can't control the final outcome. And when we tie our happiness to that outcome, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Here's the liberating truth: suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. Imagine you poured your heart into a creative project only to see it fall flat. It's natural to feel disappointment, but the Stoic approach invites you to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? And most importantly, what do I need to release to move forward? By shifting your focus from what you've lost to what you still have, your ability to adapt, to learn, to try again, you reclaim your power. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. It means accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It's about redirecting your energy toward what you can influence: your thoughts, your actions, your character. When you stop fighting against the current of life, you find that the current often carries you to unexpected, even better places. So here's a question to reflect on. What are you holding onto that you need to release? Is it a grudge, a fear, or perhaps a hope that's keeping you stuck? The act of letting go isn't easy. It takes courage and practice. But each time you do it, you take a step closer to the freedom Epictetus spoke of. And that freedom, the kind that comes from within, is the foundation of a truly Stoic life. Your perspective shapes your reality. It's a powerful truth that the Stoics understood deeply, and it's one of the most transformative tools you can use when dealing with betrayal or hurt. The way you choose to see a situation doesn't just influence how you feel about it, it changes how you experience it entirely. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, often wrote about the importance of viewing events from a higher vantage point. He reminded himself that what seems like a devastating blow at ground level might look entirely different when seen from above. It's not about denying the pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about choosing to see it in a way that empowers you rather than imprisons you. Take betrayal, for example. On the surface, it feels like a deep wound, a violation of trust that can leave you questioning your judgment or even your worth. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if, instead of focusing on the pain, you saw it as a lesson, a moment to reflect on your values, your boundaries, and the kind of relationships you want to cultivate? The Stoics would argue that betrayal, like any challenge, is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. It's not the event itself that defines you, it's how you choose to interpret it. So how can shifting your perspective change your experience? Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. If you focus only on the chaos around you, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But if you step back, even mentally, and see the storm as part of a larger pattern, a moment in time that will pass, you regain a sense of control. That's the power of perspective. It allows you to reframe challenges not as obstacles that defeat you, but as opportunities that shape you. And the more you practice this, the more you'll find that even the most painful experiences can become stepping stones toward a stronger, more grounded version of yourself. What does it mean to face pain with courage? For the Stoics, courage wasn't just about physical bravery. It was about the strength to confront emotional and mental challenges head-on. When betrayal or hurt strikes, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to want to retreat or lash out. But courage, as Seneca reminds us, is the virtue that allows us to endure hardship without losing our sense of self. In his letters, he writes about how the true test of character isn't avoiding pain, but how we respond to it. It's about standing firm in the face of adversity, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Think about a moment in your own life when you faced a personal failure or setback. Maybe it was a job loss, a broken relationship, or a dream that didn't come to fruition. In those moments, courage isn't about denying the pain, it's about acknowledging it, feeling it fully, and still choosing to move forward. It's about refusing to let that pain define you or dictate your actions. Seneca would argue that this kind of courage is a form of wisdom, a recognition that suffering is part of life, but it doesn't have to control you. Here's a modern example. Imagine someone who's been passed over for a promotion they worked tirelessly for. The sting of disappointment is real, and it's natural to feel hurt or even betrayed. But courage in this situation means not letting that disappointment paralyze them. It means taking a deep breath, reflecting on what went wrong, and deciding to try again, not out of stubbornness, but out of a belief in their own resilience and ability to grow. That's Stoic courage in action. So, how can you embody courage in your current situation? Start by asking yourself, what's the hardest part of what I'm facing right now? Is it the fear of failure, the weight of rejection, or simply the uncertainty of what comes next? Once you identify it, remind yourself that courage doesn't mean you won't feel fear or pain. It means you're willing to act despite them. It's about taking one small step, even when every part of you wants to stay still. And remember, courage isn't something you're born with, it's something you practice, one decision at a time. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We are made for cooperation." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that no one is meant to navigate life's challenges alone. Stoicism, often seen as a philosophy of self-reliance, doesn't advocate isolation. In fact, it emphasizes the value of community, especially when we're feeling hurt or betrayed. While Stoicism teaches us to rely on our inner strength, it also recognizes that leaning on others isn't a sign of weakness, it's a recognition of our shared humanity. When you're dealing with the sting of betrayal, it's easy to retreat into yourself, to build walls and shut out the world. But this is precisely when community becomes essential. Surrounding yourself with people who understand your values and support your growth can help you regain perspective. These individuals might offer wise counsel, a listening ear, or simply a reminder that you're not alone. Think about it. Who in your life has the wisdom and calmness to guide you when emotions run high? Who can help you see the bigger picture when you're too close to the pain? Let's take a moment to consider a relatable scenario. Imagine you've just been betrayed by someone you trusted deeply. It's natural to feel anger, sadness, or even a desire for revenge. But instead of stewing in those emotions, you reach out to a trusted friend, someone who understands Stoic principles. They might remind you that betrayal, as painful as it is an external event. It's not in your control, but how you respond to it is. They could encourage you to focus on what's within your power, your thoughts, your actions, and your ability to grow from the experience. This kind of support doesn't erase the hurt, but it helps you process it with greater clarity and resilience. So ask yourself, who in your life can play this role for you? Who can help you stay grounded in Stoic principles when you're feeling overwhelmed? It might be a friend, a mentor, or even a community of like-minded individuals. The key is to seek out those who align with your values and can offer constructive guidance, not just sympathy. After all, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about channeling them in a way that leads to growth. And sometimes the best way to do that is with the help of others. Remember, seeking support isn't a departure from Stoic practice, it's an extension of it. By leaning on your community, you're not abandoning self-reliance, you're strengthening it. You're acknowledging that cooperation and connection are integral to living a virtuous life. So, as you reflect on this, consider how your relationships can become a source of strength, helping you stay stoic even in the face of hurt. Equanimity is the Stoic response to life's ups and downs. It's about finding that inner calm, no matter what's happening around you. Think of it like the eye of a storm. While chaos swirls outside, you remain steady and composed. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. Instead, it's about acknowledging what's happening without letting it overwhelm you. The Stoics believed that equanimity is a skill, something we can develop with practice, not just a trait we're born with. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." His words remind us that while we can't always control external events, we can control our response. Imagine getting criticism at work or from someone close to you. It's easy to feel defensive or hurt, but equanimity allows you to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. You might even find something valuable in the feedback, turning what felt like a setback into an opportunity for growth. So, how can you cultivate this sense of balance in your daily life? Start small. When something frustrating happens, a missed train, a rude comment, or even a spilled cup of coffee, take a moment to breathe and observe your reaction. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If it's not, let it go as gracefully as you can. If it is, focus on what you can do about it without letting emotions cloud your judgment. Over time, these small moments of practice add up, helping you build resilience and a deeper sense of calm. Equanimity isn't about perfection, it's about progress one step at a time. How can Stoicism help us manage anger? It's a question worth exploring, especially when we consider how often anger can cloud our judgment and disrupt our peace. Stoics saw anger as one of the most destructive emotions, not because it's inherently wrong to feel upset, but because it often leads us to act irrationally. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about anger, calling it a brief madness. He believed that while anger might feel justified in the moment, it rarely serves us well in the long run. Instead, he argued that true strength lies in mastering our reactions, not in giving in to the heat of the moment. Think about a time when someone provoked you. Maybe it was a rude comment, a careless mistake, or even a betrayal. In that moment, anger might have felt like the natural response, but Stoicism challenges us to pause and ask, what good does this anger serve? Does it fix the situation, or does it only make things worse? Seneca suggested that anger is often a reaction to unmet expectations. When people or circumstances don't align with how we think they should be, by shifting our perspective and focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, we can begin to dismantle the power anger holds over us. Here's an example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a friend. They say something hurtful and your first instinct is to lash out. But instead of reacting immediately, you take a deep breath and remind yourself that their words are a reflection of their state of mind, not your worth. This small pause allows you to respond with clarity rather than hostility. Over time, practicing this kind of self-control can transform how you handle conflict, turning moments of tension into opportunities for growth. So, what triggers your anger? Is it criticism, injustice, or maybe feeling misunderstood? Once you identify these triggers, you can start to address them. Stoicism teaches us to prepare for these moments by reflecting on them in advance. For instance, if you know certain situations make you prone to anger, rehearse how you might respond calmly. This kind of mental preparation can help you stay grounded when emotions run high. The Stoic approach isn't about suppressing anger or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about understanding it, channeling it constructively, and ultimately reclaiming your power over it. By doing so, you not only protect your inner peace, but also cultivate a sense of resilience that can carry you through life's challenges with grace. Time is a river and patience is its current. Those words from Marcus Aurelius remind us that life unfolds at its own pace, and our ability to endure its flow is where true strength lies. When you're feeling betrayed or hurt, it's natural to want resolution, immediately answers, apologies, or even just a sense of closure. But here's the thing, rushing that process often only deepens the wound. Stoicism teaches us that patience isn't passive. It's an active choice to align ourselves with the natural rhythm of life, even when it feels uncomfortable. Think about a modern scenario. Imagine someone who's been betrayed by a close friend or partner. The immediate reaction might be to demand an explanation, to force the other person to acknowledge the pain they've caused, or to try to fix the situation as quickly as possible. But what if instead they chose to step back, to give themselves and the other person time to process what happened? patience in this case becomes a tool for clarity. It allows emotions to settle, perspectives to shift, and solutions to emerge that might not have been visible in the heat of the moment. So, how can patience help you navigate betrayal or hurt? For one, it creates space for reflection. When you pause instead of reacting, you give yourself the chance to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? Patience also helps you avoid compounding the pain with impulsive decisions. It's not about ignoring your feelings, but rather about giving them room to breathe so you can respond with intention rather than react out of anger or fear. And here's the Stoic twist: patience isn't just about waiting for others. It's about cultivating an inner stillness that lets you find peace, even when the world around you feels chaotic. In moments of betrayal, patience becomes your anchor. It reminds you that while you can't control how others act, you can control how you respond. And sometimes the most powerful response is simply to wait, not out of weakness, but out of strength, knowing that time, like a river, will carry you forward when you're ready. Mindfulness is a Stoic tool for staying present, and it's one of the most powerful ways to navigate feelings of betrayal or hurt. When we're caught up in emotional pain, it's easy to lose ourselves in the past, replaying what happened, wondering what we could have done differently, or dwelling on the actions of others. But here's the thing: the past is already gone. No amount of thinking or regretting can change it. That's where mindfulness comes in. It's about anchoring yourself in the here and now, not letting your mind spiral into what's already behind you. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, emphasized the importance of focusing on the present moment. He taught that our suffering often comes from trying to control what's outside our power, like the actions of others or events that have already occurred. But by turning our attention to what we can control, our thoughts, our reactions, and the present moment, we reclaim our power. Mindfulness helps us do exactly that. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about observing it without letting it consume us. Think of it like this: imagine you're sitting by a river watching the water flow. Your thoughts and emotions are like leaves floating on the surface. Instead of jumping in to grab them or trying to stop the current, you simply watch them pass by. That's mindfulness. It's a way of creating space between you and your feelings so they don't overwhelm you. For example, when you meditate, you focus on your breath or the sensations in your body. This act of grounding yourself in the present can calm emotional turmoil, helping you see the situation more clearly and respond with intention rather than reaction. So, how can mindfulness help you stay grounded when you're feeling betrayed or hurt? It reminds you that the only moment you truly have is this one. The past is out of your hands and the future is uncertain. By focusing on what's happening right now, whether it's the sound of your breath, the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the sights and sounds around you, you create a sense of stability. This practice doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you the clarity and strength to move through it without being swept away. How does humility help us cope with betrayal? It's a question that might not immediately come to mind when we're feeling hurt or wronged, but in Stoic philosophy, humility plays a crucial role in restoring our inner peace. When we're betrayed, our first instinct is often to lash out, to seek justice or even revenge. But the Stoics remind us that true strength lies not in retaliation, but in understanding our own limitations and recognizing that we, too, are fallible. Humility, in this sense, isn't about downplaying our worth. It's about seeing ourselves clearly without the distortions of ego or pride. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, often reflected on the importance of humility. In his personal writings, he reminded himself to stay grounded, even as the Emperor of Rome. He wrote, "You will find rest from vain fancies if you perform every act in life as though it were your last." What he meant was that humility allows us to focus on what truly matters, our actions and our character, rather than getting caught up in the opinions or actions of others. When we're betrayed, this perspective can be transformative. Instead of dwelling on how someone has wronged us, humility shifts our focus inward, asking, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow?" Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine a situation where a close friend betrays your trust. It's easy to feel anger, to dwell on their actions, and to let that pain consume you. But humility invites us to take a step back. It asks us to consider our own role in the situation. Have we ever made mistakes that hurt others? Have we ever acted in ways we later regretted? By acknowledging our own imperfections, we create space for understanding and eventually forgiveness. Humility doesn't excuse the other person's actions. It simply helps us approach the situation with greater clarity and compassion. So, how can humility change your perspective on betrayal? It helps us see that while we can't control how others act, we can control how we respond. It reminds us that everyone, including ourselves, is capable of both good and bad behavior. And most importantly, it shifts the focus from what's been done to us to what we can do with the experience, how we can grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Humility, in the end, isn't about diminishing ourselves. It's about rising above the noise of hurt and finding a deeper, more enduring sense of peace. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. It's a phrase that might sound grim at first, but in Stoicism, it's a powerful tool for building resilience. This is where the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum comes into play. It's about anticipating challenges, setbacks, or even failures before they happen, not to dwell on negativity, but to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally so that when life throws its curveballs, you're ready to catch them. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about this practice. He believed that by imagining the worst-case scenarios, we strip them of their power to shock or overwhelm us. Think of it like this: if you've already walked through the possibility of losing a job, facing rejection, or dealing with a personal betrayal in your mind, you're far less likely to be blindsided by it in reality. It's not about expecting the worst to happen, it's about being ready if it does. Let's bring this to life with a relatable example. Imagine you're preparing for a big presentation at work. You've practiced your speech, you know your material, but what if something goes wrong? What if the projector fails or you forget a key point? By envisioning these potential setbacks, you can prepare backup plans like having printed notes or practicing how to recover smoothly. When you've already thought through these possibilities, you're not just hoping for the best, you're actively equipping yourself to handle whatever comes your way. So, how can premeditatio malorum help you face future challenges? It's simple. It shifts your mindset from fear to preparedness. Instead of being caught off guard by life's uncertainties, you train yourself to meet them with clarity and calm. This isn't about pessimism, it's about empowerment. By acknowledging the possibilities, you're not surrendering to them, you're taking control of your response. And that, in itself, is a profound act of strength. Wisdom is the only good, said Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher whose teachings continue to resonate centuries later. But what does that mean when you're standing in the middle of betrayal or hurt? Wisdom, for the Stoics, isn't just about knowing facts or having experience. It's about understanding how to act, think, and respond in ways that align with virtue, even when life feels like it's unraveling. It's the tool that helps you see beyond the immediate pain and find meaning in the struggle. Let's take a moment to think about a modern example, a failed relationship. Maybe you've been there, someone you trusted, someone you cared for deeply, lets you down or walks away. In that moment, it's easy to feel like the world is against you, like you've been wronged in the worst way. But the Stoic approach invites you to pause and ask yourself, What can I learn from this? What wisdom can I take away that will help me grow even in the midst of this hurt? Wisdom here isn't about assigning blame or dwelling on what went wrong. It's about looking inward and asking, how can I use this experience to become stronger, more resilient, more self-aware? Perhaps you realize that you place too much of your happiness in someone else's hands, or maybe you see patterns in your own behavior that you want to change. The point isn't to punish yourself, it's to reflect, learn, and move forward with a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Stoicism teaches us that wisdom is the lens through which we can turn even the most painful experiences into opportunities for growth. It's not about denying the pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging it, sitting with it, and then asking, what can this teach me? When you approach betrayal or hurt with this mindset, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming an active participant in your own growth. You begin to see that every challenge, no matter how painful, carries within it the seeds of wisdom if you're willing to look for them. Can Stoicism teach us to be compassionate? At first glance, Stoicism might seem like a philosophy of detachment, focused solely on controlling our emotions. But the truth is, compassion plays a vital role in the Stoic way of life. The Stoics believed that compassion, genuine care for others, even those who wrong us, is not a weakness but a strength. It's a virtue rooted in understanding our shared humanity. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, often reflected on the importance of empathy. He wrote that when someone acts unjustly, we should remind ourselves that they too are human, driven by their own fears, desires, and misunderstandings. By seeing their actions through this lens, we can respond not with anger but with understanding. Think about it. When someone betrays or hurts us, our instinct might be to lash out or shut down. But what if instead we chose to respond with compassion, not because they deserve it, but because it's a way to free ourselves from the weight of resentment? Picture this: someone close to you has let you down. Rather than stewing in bitterness, you take a deep breath and remind yourself that their actions likely stem from their own struggles. Maybe they're acting out of pain, insecurity, or ignorance. By choosing kindness even in the face of hurt, you're not excusing their behavior, you're choosing to rise above it. So, how can compassion help you heal? When we extend understanding to others, we're also giving ourselves a gift. Holding on to anger or hurt only ties us to the past, keeping wounds fresh. Compassion allows us to release those burdens and move forward. It's not about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about recognizing that our peace of mind is too valuable to sacrifice to resentment. In the end, compassion isn't just a gift to others, it's a tool for our own growth and resilience. And that's a truly Stoic way to live. Self-discipline is the Stoic path to freedom. It's not about restricting yourself or denying pleasure. It's about mastering your impulses so they don't master you. Think of it this way: when we react impulsively to betrayal or hurt, we hand over control of our emotions to someone else. But self-discipline allows us to pause, reflect, and choose how we respond. It's the difference between being a puppet to your emotions and being the one holding the strings. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, put it simply: no man is free who is not master of himself. He taught that the key to freedom lies in mastering our desires and aversions. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding them and deciding whether they serve us. For example, when someone betrays you, the immediate urge might be to retaliate, to lash out in anger. But self-discipline allows you to step back and ask, will this action truly help me, or will it only deepen the chaos? Let's take a modern example. Imagine a colleague takes credit for your hard work in a meeting. Your first instinct might be to call them out publicly or stew in resentment, but self-discipline gives you the space to choose a different path. maybe you address the issue privately, calmly, and with clarity. Or perhaps you decide to let it go, recognizing that their actions don't define your worth. Either way, you're not reacting out of impulse, you're responding with intention. So, how can self-discipline help you stay stoic in moments of betrayal or hurt? It starts with small, daily practices. It might be resisting the urge to check your phone the moment you wake up, or choosing to respond to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness. Over time, these small acts of discipline build resilience, teaching you that you have the power to control your reactions, even when emotions run high. Self-discipline, in the Stoic sense, isn't a burden, it's a tool for reclaiming your freedom. What is your purpose in this moment of pain? It's a question that might feel overwhelming when you're hurting, but for the Stoics, it's the key to unlocking meaning in the midst of adversity. Purpose isn't just about grand life goals or sweeping ambitions, it's about the small, intentional choices we make in the face of hardship. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, wrote extensively about living with intention. He believed that even in the darkest moments, we have the power to direct our focus towards something meaningful, and that's where healing begins. Think about it this way. When you feel betrayed or hurt, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of anger, sadness, or even self-pity. But what if, instead of letting those emotions define you, you asked yourself, what can I learn from this, or how can I grow through this? That shift in perspective doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it a direction. It transforms suffering from something that happens to you into something you can work through. Let's take a relatable example. Imagine you've been betrayed by someone you trusted deeply. The sting of that betrayal might feel unbearable at first, but what if in that moment you chose to focus on a purpose like becoming more resilient or learning to set healthier boundaries? Suddenly, the betrayal isn't just a source of pain, it becomes a teacher. That's the Stoic approach. Pain isn't meaningless unless we refuse to find meaning in it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, we can't control what others do or how they treat us, but we can control how we respond. And when we respond with purpose, we reclaim our agency. So ask yourself, what purpose can you find in this experience? Maybe it's about rediscovering your inner strength, or perhaps it's about using this moment to cultivate greater empathy for others who have faced similar struggles. Whatever it is, purpose gives pain a path forward. Purpose doesn't have to be something monumental. It can be as simple as deciding to approach each day with kindness, even when you feel broken, or committing to grow from the experience rather than letting it define you. The Stoics remind us that adversity is inevitable, but meaning is a choice. And when we choose to live with intention, even the most painful moments can become stepping stones toward a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves. Your worth is not defined by others' actions. That's a truth the Stoics held close, and it's a truth that can set you free when you're feeling betrayed or hurt. The Stoic philosophers, like Epictetus, taught that self-worth comes from within. It's not something others can give or take away. Think about that for a moment. No matter what someone does or says, your value as a person remains intact. It's rooted in your character, your choices, and your ability to act with virtue. That's where true strength lies. Epictetus put it simply, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, don't let the opinions or actions of others dictate how you see yourself. When someone betrays you, it's easy to fall into the trap of questioning your worth, but the Stoic approach flips that script. Instead of looking outward for validation, you look inward. You remind yourself that your value isn't tied to someone else's behavior. It's tied to how you choose to respond, with integrity, resilience, and self-respect. Let's bring this to life with a modern example. Imagine you've been hurt by a close friend or partner. Maybe they've broken your trust, or perhaps they've said something unkind. In that moment, it's natural to feel shaken, even to doubt yourself. But here's where Stoicism offers a lifeline. Instead of letting their actions define you, you focus on what's within your control. You ask yourself, how can I rebuild my confidence? How can I reaffirm my self-worth? Maybe it's through small, intentional acts like setting boundaries, practicing self-compassion, or reminding yourself of your strength. These actions aren't about proving anything to anyone else. They're about honoring yourself. So how can you reaffirm your self-worth today? Start by recognizing that your value isn't up for debate. It's not something that fluctuates based on how others treat you. It's steady, unshakable, and entirely your own. Take a moment to reflect on what makes you you, your kindness, your resilience, your ability to grow. Write it down if you need to, and then commit to living in a way that reflects that worth. Because when you do, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're reclaiming your power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within, within is the fountain of good." And while that inner well is where we ultimately draw our strength, Stoicism also teaches us to look outward, to nature. For the Stoics, nature wasn't just the trees, the sky, or the rivers. It was the very embodiment of order, balance, and resilience. When we feel betrayed or hurt, it's easy to lose sight of that bigger picture, to feel like the world is chaotic and unfair. But nature reminds us that there's a rhythm to life, a cycle of growth and renewal that's far larger than any one event or person. Think about it. When was the last time you stepped outside after a difficult day and felt even a small sense of calm? Maybe it was the sound of wind through the leaves or the steady crash of waves on the shore. Nature has this incredible way of grounding us, of putting our problems into perspective. It doesn't erase the pain, but it reminds us that we're part of something vast and enduring. The Stoics believed that aligning ourselves with nature, accepting its rhythms and trusting its processes, could help us find peace even in the midst of turmoil. So, how can connecting with nature help you heal? Let's say you've just experienced a deep betrayal. Your emotions are raw, your mind is racing, and it feels like the world is closing in. Now imagine walking through a forest or sitting by a quiet lake. The noise in your head begins to quiet. The trees don't judge, the water doesn't rush. Nature simply exists, and in that simplicity, you're reminded that life goes on. The Stoics saw this as a lesson in acceptance, that just as the seasons change, so too do our circumstances. Pain is temporary, but the natural world endures, and so can we. This isn't about escaping your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about finding a space where you can breathe, reflect, and reconnect with your own resilience. Nature doesn't fix everything, but it offers a kind of solace that's hard to find anywhere else. It's a mirror showing us our own capacity for growth and renewal. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed, try stepping outside. Let the natural world remind you that, like the trees and the rivers, you have the strength to weather the storm and emerge stronger on the other side. Every challenge is a teacher. That's a principle the Stoics held close, and it's one that can transform how we approach the moments in life that feel the most painful. Adversity, betrayal, even hurt, these aren't just obstacles to endure. They're opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound thinkers, wrote extensively about this. He believed that hardship was not something to fear or resent, but rather a tool for shaping character. In his letters, he often reminded his readers that the difficulties we face are not punishments but lessons. They strip away what's unnecessary and reveal what truly matters. Think about a time when you faced a situation that left you feeling betrayed or deeply hurt. In the moment, it might have felt impossible to see any good in it, but looking back, can you identify something you gained from that experience? Maybe it taught you to set stronger boundaries, to trust your instincts, or to appreciate the people who truly have your back. Even the most painful moments often come with hidden gifts, lessons that stay with us long after the sting fades. Here's a modern example. Imagine someone who went through a tough breakup. At first, it feels like a loss, like the world has turned upside down. But over time, they might realize that the experience taught them to value their own worth, to recognize what they truly need in a relationship, and to grow more resilient. The pain didn't disappear, but it became a stepping stone to something greater. So, the next time you find yourself in a situation that feels unfair or painful, ask yourself this: what lessons can I take from this? What is this moment trying to teach me? The Stoics would say that even in the darkest times, there's a spark of wisdom waiting to be found. And when we focus on that, we don't just survive, we thrive. Let's bring everything together. Throughout this video, we've explored how Stoicism offers a powerful framework for navigating betrayal and hurt. At its core, Stoicism teaches us resilience, the ability to stand firm even when life feels unstable. It reminds us of the importance of acceptance, not as resignation, but as a deliberate choice to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. And perhaps most importantly, it encourages us to shift our perspective, to see challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth. When someone betrays or hurts us, it's natural to feel anger, sadness, or even despair. But Stoicism asks us to pause and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate? Betrayal and hurt, as painful as they are, can be catalysts for transformation. They push us to examine our values, strengthen our character, and deepen our understanding of what it means to live with integrity. As Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our inner strength lies not in avoiding pain, but in how we respond to it. We have the power to choose our attitude, to find meaning in hardship, and to emerge from difficulty with greater clarity and purpose. Now, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on. How can you apply these Stoic principles the next time you face betrayal or hurt? Maybe it's by practicing acceptance, reframing your perspective, or simply reminding yourself that you have the strength to endure and grow. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about embracing them with wisdom and using them as stepping stones toward a more resilient and fulfilled life. If this conversation resonated with you and you'd like to explore more Stoic wisdom, consider subscribing to the channel. Together, we can continue to uncover timeless tools for living with courage, clarity, and compassion. Thank you for watching, and remember, every challenge is an invitation to grow. Until next time, stay strong, stay Stoic.